Today's learning objectives are: improve your capacity to be an effective listener, increase your ability to listen and accurately identify how other people seem to be thinking and feeling, boost your ability to be informed by another person's ideas and emotions, and increase your ability to distinguish between ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Today we are going to talk about learning to communicate and listen better. We're going to talk about this because so many of us have a hard time listening to others. And it really causes confusion, hurt feelings, and misunderstandings in our relationships. Sometimes when we are not getting what we need or want from another person, we assume that we are the only ones who have needs, feelings, or desires. Just like us, however, others have a lot happening in their lives and have their own needs, feelings, and desires. Part of being in a relationship and caring about another person is being aware of what is going on with them, what they need, and how they feel. In order to be there for another person, each of us has to pay attention to what they are saying, both verbally and non-verbally. The non-verbal messages are especially hard, but the verbal messages are easier. Let's start with the verbal messages. In order to communicate verbally with another person, it is important to do several things. Pay attention. You cannot pay attention if you are doing something else or distracted by something else at the same time, like reading, watching TV, or fixing something. Even if you think you can, you will be sending a message to the other person that they are only worthy of partial attention. Stay in the moment. You cannot pay attention to the conversation if you are thinking about what you are going to say, defending yourself in your head as to why they are wrong, or remembering how they were wrong another time. Listen, it may seem simple, but you cannot listen if you are talking at the same time. Do not interrupt. Not only is it rude, it tells the other person that you do not care about their thoughts or feelings. Don't assume. Communicating well is very difficult, as we all think and talk differently. And because of that, it is easy to assume that you know what the other person is saying when in fact you may not. Don't assume that they are out to get you. Maybe they are just saying things that you would not, or using words that you would not. Or maybe they're having trouble expressing themselves. If you assume you know what someone is saying without checking it out, it can really get off track. Instead, stop and ask for more information. Do not interrupt them, but do not assume that you understand what they are saying when you might not. Respect their opinion. You are entitled to your own viewpoint. Although you may not say or think what you say or think, it is important to recognize that others may not share the same points of view as you. Understanding that others may have different opinions is an important skill for men who have been abusive to develop. Understand that it's not always about you. Have you ever had a bad day? Ever been short with someone when your bad mood had nothing to do with them? Ever been in the middle of something and had someone interrupt you when you wanted to be left alone? Sometimes our tone and verbal reactions have nothing to do with the person we are talking to. Just like when we do this to others, others may have the same reasons for doing it to us. It may have nothing to do with us. The other person is just having a bad day. This does not excuse people from being responsible for their actions, but sometimes we need to cut them some slack. That said, violence is never justified or excusable. Remember that we all have different opinions and needs. No two people agree or see things the same way or need the same things. No matter how close you are with your partner or how much you love each other, you will each see things differently, have different values, different beliefs, and have different needs. Disagreeing or having different opinions is part of what makes each of us unique and part of what makes us human. I want you to think about these questions. What is a conversation? Can you have a conversation when one person isn't listening or talking? How do you know when someone is listening to you? How do you let others know you are listening to them? Is it ever hard to listen to another person? When? Is it ever hard for another person to listen to you? There are two tools that we can use to increase our listening skills and to increase our ability to communicate better reflections and paraphrases. Reflections can help increase our ability to be in tune with and correctly recognize another person's emotions and/or feelings. A reflection helps to show that the listener hears and correctly understands what the person speaking is expressing. This is an important skill for men who have been violent to acquire, as they often do not understand or appreciate that others have feelings or needs separate from their own. Often, men who have been violent are more concerned that their feelings are understood than they are in understanding someone else's feelings. Examples of reflections. It sounds like you are feeling, do you feel and are you feeling are good, lead-in phrases for reflections. After stating the lead-in phrase, the listener should state the specific emotion they believe the sender is conveying. The listener, in a form of a question, must state the lead-in phrase and the specific feeling. If a person says, "We have been friends for a long time, so I can't believe he would support his brother over me when his brother is wrong," what might you say using a reflection? It sounds like you are feeling angry, hurt, disappointed, betrayed. If a person says, "I passed the test. I studied hard for it, but I was not sure how well I did, but I passed and I'm glad it's over," what might you say using a reflection? It sounds like you are feeling happy, relieved, proud. Paraphrasing listening skills. Paraphrases are another way to show that the listener understands the information the other person is saying. Paraphrases focus on ideas, information, and thoughts of the person talking. When using this skill, the listener must restate the ideas, information, thoughts, and statements of the message sender in their own words. This is an important skill for men who have been violent to their partners, men who frequently do more talking than listening. Further, they tend to be more concerned with being understood than understanding their partner's point of view. If a person says, "I have been working so hard this week. I am working back-to-back shifts in the plant in order to pay for my car. I need it fixed. I have to take a bus or a taxi everywhere. I am so tired. I wish I could just chill for a while, but I gotta make this money." What might you say in response using a paraphrase? It sounds like you have been saying that you have to work all the time in order to bring money in to fix the car, and you can't take a break until you get it fixed. You sound tired, worn out, frustrated. Oh. Lead-in phrases are used as a way of getting feedback from the person talking. That is, the listener is asking the person talking whether he is being understood accurately, her information or ideas, what she was saying or feeling. These listening skills are frequently stated in the form of a question. Examples of lead-in phrases and paraphrases: "Let me see if I understand what you have been saying. It sounds like you think that, you believe that, you have been saying," and "it sounds like," are good examples of let-in phrases for paraphrases. The listener must listen to the message of a person, then use the lead-in phrase and restate the message sender's ideas and phrases in their own words. Using a reflection, what would you say in response to the statements below? Begin by using the lead-in phrase, then identify and list the emotions that might accurately describe what the sender is feeling in statement 1 and 2. First example. If a person says to you, "What a great day. We got out of work early but got paid for the whole day." Lead-in phrase and reflection. It sounds like you are feeling. List all the words that accurately identify what this person might be feeling. Second example. If a person says to you, "I just don't know what to do. No matter what I do, my boss is always on my back. It just isn't fair." Lead-in phrase and reflection. Do you feel? Fill in the blank. In the previous exercise, men have learned the differences between a reflection and a paraphrase, as well as the appropriate use for each. In the exercises that follow, have the men apply these skills to the various stories. Today, we are going to break up into 4 groups, one for each of the following scenarios. Each group will review their scenario and ask the other groups to respond to it with the listening response indicated. No. After each scenario, each group will do a role play in front of the entire group. I want each group members offer feedback concerning the accuracy of the listening skill as well as the appropriateness of the message from the role play. They started to reflect about their lives. John remembered watching his father beat up his mother. He would see her crying when she got beat up. He remembered one time when his father punched her and threw plates and food across the room. John's little sister was screaming and crawled behind the couch. He could feel the tension in the house for a long time. There were more sad times than happy times. His father never said it was wrong to be abusive to his wife or other women. He felt that it was important to be in control of his woman and his children. John's dad taught his boys, do not be a sissy and don't let people disrespect you. John said, I knew my dad loved me, but I cannot tell you how. John said he never felt he got his father's approval. I felt that my dad was very angry with me all the time and I did not understand why. Instructions for each group. Role play. Use a paraphrase to ask John whether you accurately understood what he is saying. Reflection exercise. In your own words, please explain what you think John was feeling. What could you say using a reflection to John? Role play. Use a reflection to ask John whether you accurately understood what he was feeling. John's story, #2. I remember seeing my sisters running from the room when my dad was in a bad mood. My mother, my brothers and sisters always gave him space because we did not know who he was going to go off on next. I did not like to be home when he was like that, so I hung out with my friends a lot. Instructions for each group. Paraphrase exercise. Paraphrase what you think John was thinking. What could you say using a paraphrase to John? Role play. Use a paraphrase to ask John whether you accurately understand what he is saying. Reflection. Exercise. Paraphrase what you think John was feeling. What could you say using a reflection to John? Role play. Use a reflection to ask John whether you accurately understand what he is feeling. John's story number 3. John remembered his mother's experience with his father. He said, Mom would cry and talk to my sister and me. She would explain how she hated getting beat up by him, but she said she stayed because she had no place else to go. She also said that she did not think he is going to change. I said I hated him for doing this to us. But she said we will stay here until we can leave. Instructions for each group. Role play. Use a paraphrase to ask John's mother whether you accurately understood what she is saying. Reflection with John's mother. In your own words, explain what you think John's mother was feeling. What could you say using a reflection to John's mother? Role play. Use a reflection to ask John's mother whether you accurately understood what she is feeling. John's story, number 4. Quote from John, I don't care what we did, it would not change his behavior. When he was in that mood, he was going to hit me or my mother for something, regardless of how good we were. I loved my father, but I sure wanted to get away from him when he was being crazy and violent. Instructions for each group. Paraphrase with John. Paraphrase what you think John was thinking. What you could say using a paraphrase to John. Role play. Use a paraphrase to ask John whether you accurately understand what he is saying. Reflections with John. What do you think John was feeling? What could you say using a reflection to John? Role play. Use a reflection to ask John whether you accurately understand what he's feeling. It may feel strange for you to be reflecting and paraphrasing, as it will certainly be different from most of what you do when you are trying to communicate regularly. It takes practice to listen carefully, but as you practice, it will be more comfortable. Furthermore, videos like this visit Dr. Rick at BreakingChaosBuildingClarity.com and at YouTube at Direct Chaos to Clarity. Thanks for listening.